Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Noelle and today we are going to talk about the Nike ZoomX Vaporfly NEXT. I don't know how many takes I had to do to get that entire name right. I kept dropping one of the words out. But in any case, if you haven't heard about this shoe, it is the latest iteration of Nike's Vaporfly series. They introduced the Vaporfly 4%, which is the retail model of the tech that was available to their marathoners. And now Nike's come out with a refresh or an update of that, which is the Vaporfly NEXT. I'm well aware that it was launched earlier in the US, but it's only just made its way over to the Philippines, and it's been available exclusively at Nike Park Fort. So that means the shoe is in quite limited quantities. Actually, at this point, it's already sold out. I do not know if they are restocking. I wrote a blog post about it a couple of weeks back, and I mentioned that the Vaporfly NEXT merges many of the innovations born out of feedback from Nike's elite runners such as Mo Farah, Eliud Kipchoge, I hope I'm pronouncing these names right, Jeffrey Kirui, and Shalane Flanagan. But the thing is, Nike also reached out to some of us who run and post on social media about it, and so I'm happy to announce that I do have a pair of the next percents right here. For those of you who are already following me on Instagram, I've actually posted the unboxing video on IGTV, but I will happily unbox again for you guys today. Unlike Nike's other shoe offerings, which come in their trademark orange box, the next percents come in a black box. And it also has this branding, the digital numbers, which are, they're part of the design language of the Zoom series, I think. The box also has the ZoomX branding on it. All right. So these shoes come with their own little drawstring bag, which of course will show off the shoe because it's quite translucent. You can actually see my hand through this. And here's the reveal. A wax paper insert. And then is the shoe. Say hello to the next percents. So you see there's a little bit of difference between the left and right shoes. These have the digital numbers, and this one just has Nike running swoosh. Okay, so this is the left shoe and the right shoe respectively. Take a look at that foam, the thickness of the foam here, but actually the shoe sits a little lower. This is where the heel of the shoe actually is. It sits a little lower than this flared outsole. And you can see here that this particular part of the shoe is quite see-through. You can see my finger through there. This is a cardboard backing to keep the shoe shape firm while in the box. And so these are actually swooshes, giant swooshes on the inner part of the shoe. You will see that the other shoe models that Nike's released this year will have the swooshes here on the outside, but the Vaporflies have the swooshes on the inside. Okay, so that was a quick visual inspection of the Vaporfly NEXT. So let me just go over through some of the features that these shoes have. The shoe features an upper made out of just vapor weave. The vapor weave also features in the Zoom Fly 3, but I think it's kind of a double upper. So there's another layer along with the vapor weave. So yeah, the Vaporfly is the only shoe with kind of like 100% vapor weave upper. One of the features of this vapor weave is that it's lighter than the Flyknit. It's breathable and it absorbs far less water. So if you're one of those people who sweat a lot on their feet, or you run through puddles a lot, or you like dousing yourself with water, this upper should not absorb any of that water, so you will feel less squishy underfoot when you're running. and also it should dry faster. And then also, if you'll notice the front of the shoe, so this is where your toes go. It goes straight down, right? But you will see that the laces go slightly sideways out towards the outer part of the foot. And what this supposedly does is it provides kind of a better lock of the foot, and it also kind of takes off some of the lacing pressure from the arches for people with high arches. Take a look here at the tongue. There's a notch right here, and this goes right in the front of the ankle so that this tongue shouldn't move side to side when you're running. And that's one of the most annoying things when you're running, is when the tongue slides to either side, or even worse, down the front of the shoe. So that's supposed to eliminate that kind of problem. You'll see here, there's a foam pod here that goes onto the Achilles, which should provide some lockdown for the foot, but doesn't aggravate people's heels. There's also a kind of like a heel cup here, and that's kind of the only place where there's like a double layer under the vapor wave. This shoe also has a removable inner, but the problem is that it's actually attached a little bit with some kind of adhesive. I felt it when I was trying to pull out this insole, so I'd rather not do it, because sometimes when shoes have insoles that are attached with adhesive, they kind of start sliding around once you've fully pulled the insole out. So that's the entire upper of the shoe. If you look on the underside of the shoe, you'll see that it isn't quite shaped like other Nike shoes. So this is my Pegasus 35. It's one of my favorite shoes to run in. You will see here that the shape of the shoe, it's actually quite similar. I mean, except for the part where you will see that this part is quite narrow compared to this part. And also the outsole treads are a bit, they have a different kind of shape to them off to this side, as opposed to this one, which goes a little bit further up and out to the side. So this outsole was actually custom made, or it merges together the custom outsole patterns of three of Nike's elite athletes, Kirui, Kipchoge, and Farah. They're custom traction patterns to improve the forefoot grip. So a lot of these elite runners tend to land towards the front of their foot, and they've requested custom traction patterns for each of them. And Nike's merged the 3 traction patterns into this one. So I guess this is the commonality. These are the common areas where these runners strike the ground. And so this is supposed to help provide better grip, especially when the conditions are wet. Deep grooves on the outsole and contoured treads help keep turns smooth even at high speed. So yeah, you'll see that the outsole goes from very narrow up here in the top to very wide here. This should handle the turns quite well, I suppose. And you'll also see it on the upper that the shoe's sole kind of goes beyond the upper this way. It flares out this way so that it should help with making turns. You'll also notice that it's only the upper part that has these contrast colored outsoles. Here in the middle part, the midsole is exposed, but here on the heel, this is actually also outsole, but it's color matched to match the midsole. The last thing and most important thing about these shoes is their midsole material. The midsole features more Nike ZoomX foam. So ZoomX is their foam that has a lot of energy return. The ZoomX foam has also been redistributed from somewhere here towards the front of the shoe. So basically that decreases the heel to toe offset. So if this were lying flat on the ground, the offset from the toe to the heel is now just 8 millimeters versus I think in the earlier version the offset was a little bit higher. So it's supposed to provide a little bit more of a natural ground feel versus the feel that you get in some shoes with big offsets where you feel like you're wearing heels. This is supposed to have 15% more foam than the 4%, but the shoe remains the same weight. The midsole features a full-length curved carbon fiber plate. Obviously, you can't really see it here, or you can, but it's hidden very well by the ZoomX cushioning. I think it runs along this line here. And what this carbon fiber plate does is that when you land in the shoe, it kind of deforms a little bit and then it springs right back into shape, and so that provides you a lot more springiness. So I think you land in the shoe, it deforms a little, and then it springs back that way. It provides you a little bit more energy coming off the ground. You'll notice I've taken off the inside. I'm going to put that back in there because look at this upper. It is super, the construction isn't, I mean, it's very minimally constructed. So I was super excited when Nike and their PR agency here in the Philippines decided to send a pair of these Next Percents to me. I've kind of become a big Nike fan. I run in the Pegasus 35s more often during the week than I do my other shoes. I also use the Pegasuses for races. And so I was kind of thinking that maybe the Next Percents would be my next race shoe. But also considering that it has a lot of foam, I was kind of thinking it would be a great training shoe as well, especially when going on long mileage days. But sadly, fate had other plans for me because the Next Percents do not fit. Nike has my measurements, so they actually know what shoe size I wear. Sometimes I wear an 8, sometimes I wear an 8.5. In the Pegasus, I wear an 8, but it's a little bit more forgiving because the upper is quite stretchy and it's actually quite a high profile toe box, so my toes don't get squished. Versus, let's say, the Next Percents. I'm gonna remove the stuffing again. So this is actually where your toes rest, and then this is the top of the foot, and there's not a lot of clearance there versus the Pegasus. So this is the bottom, this is where the toes rest, and this is the upper. And this vapor weave isn't all that stretchy. In fact, it kind of feels quite a bit like tough plastic versus the cottony, stretchy feel of the Pegasus 35s. So Nike provided me an 8 in these shoes, and I feel like I could have gone up to a 9 for me to run in these comfortably. Another thing about the Next Percents, you will see here on the box, there's actually a men's size and a women's size. So basically this shoe is unisex. I wear a 6.5 in the men's size apparently, and an 8 in the women's. But the thing is, yeah, I didn't really fit into these shoes all that well. I could have probably cut off the top of my toes if I were really desperate to wear these shoes. And anyway, I was desperate to wear them, so I did put them on once, and I ran 5 minutes in them before I realized that I really wasn't fitting well into these shoes, which was so sad, really, because I really wanted to be running in these, especially because I have a race next week. I wanted to wear these during the race, and sadly, I can't. When you put these shoes on, they feel a little bit, they're not low to the ground. You can feel the foam under your feet. And then once you start running in them, it forces you to strike the ground in a certain way. It doesn't really like being struck here on the back of the heel. So you're kind of forced to strike the ground somewhere between here and here. The shoe won't like it if you strike here because this is an exposed midsole and it doesn't really hold up against friction all that well. So yeah, you really want to strike the ground here, and this is where most of the cushioning is anyway. Once you strike the ground, the toe off is quite fast. I was surprised because for such a bulky looking shoe, I really wasn't spending a lot of time on the ground. And so yeah, I really enjoyed that sensation. It was a little bit weird. It was a little bit like running in the old Lunar Epics in a sense. It was very soft landing in these shoes. It really felt like the Lunar Epics, but then the toe off was quite snappy. Bam, 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 bam. So my foot turnover was quite fast. But yeah, the toe box issues were really bothering me by that time, so I had to stop. Um, and that ended the shoe testing. I really wanted to put more kilometers into these because I can see um, how these shoes can be super comfortable. So, from that first impression, run, I understand that the shoes are meant to be run a certain way and they will force you to conform to a certain pace. One thing I did notice is that quick lateral turns did still feel a little bit weird, and that's because of the height of the shoe. So, trying to push off sideways, it still felt like my foot was sliding a little bit around inside, despite the tightness of the toe box. Another thing I did notice is that this part of the heel, because it's exposed midsole, it showed a lot of staining afterwards. And I was running in relatively clean conditions, although they were outdoors. But um, this picked up a lot of dirt right away, and I had to rush to the bathroom and scrub off that dirt so that the shoes would still look pristine by the time I did this vlog. So there's a little bit of a bit more wear here, and you can see it a little bit. And that was quite concerning to me because I had only run in these shoes for 5 minutes and already kind of banged up the outsole. So some people reviewing in other channels have said that this is kind of like a race day shoe, and if you want to train, you should be using the Zoom Fly 3, I think that's what they said. I would say that for the price point that these shoes sell at, you better be running in them more than just on race day. The Vaporfly Next Percent is really a visual stunner. I mean, seriously, if you will see, you think that this is black. This is actually a very dark. It's an eggplant color, and that same color also appears here in the swoosh. It's not black. It's eggplant. That coupled with this neon green upper, just it's a shoe that really wants to catch your attention when you're running with it on the road. Right now, they retail in the Philippines for about 12,145 pesos. But again, as I said, they're out of stock. And I do not know when they're going to restock or if they're going to restock. I think if they restock, it's going to be a different color because right now the shoes are only available in this green color. So I'm going to be rehoming these shoes, and I hope they find a good home with a runner who can really use them to their full extent. As I've said in my blog before, these shoes feature a whole range of technologies that I hope trickle down to their more pedestrian offerings. I hope that I see this vapor weave in a Pegasus. Hopefully, because my Pegasus is my Pegasus 35 tends to retain a lot of water because of its upper lining. Apparently, these shoes are still available on the Nike US website. So if you're really desperate to get your hands on a pair of these, you can buy them. You can order them online. But yeah, I do have to warn you about the sizing issues, especially if you have thick toes, I suppose. I think that's it. I think that's the reason why I don't fit into these shoes. A lot of other people say that they run in the same size in these shoes as well as their other Nike shoes. Um, Yeah, the safest bet would really be for you to go in store and fit them, but right now that's not possible here in the Philippines. I do think that a lot of the shoe collectors came and snapped them up at Nike Park Court, so you're going to be seeing these shoes on the resale market as well because the shoe here sells for below retail price. So in the US, these used to sell at $265 to $270, and then when they actually mass launched the shoe, it started selling at $250. Here in the Philippines, it was selling for 12,100 something pesos, which is actually it's about $220. And so I think that's why these shoes got snapped up so quickly. If you're a passionate fan of the 4%, anybody who is wearing the 4%, they're really kind of the people who are early adopters of new shoe technology. So I think these might be a good shoe for you to pick up as well. But if you're like me and you're happy running in Nike's other trainers, hold off a little bit and wait and see for other people to review these shoes, people who have the same running profile as you, before you make the decision to snap one of these up. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and think that it provided some insights that are pretty useful, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.